Well, if you had to pick a side, who do you think would win?
Mm. Like Goku's stronger, but Saitama has more plot armor, so it's like it's what's do you value, the plot armor or the who's actually stronger?
Yeah. Hello again, it is Samox here, creator of Metagame and the Smash Brothers, here with the OG, the original god himself, Mew2King, the first of the Pantheon. And I'm super happy to have you here. Thanks for agreeing to sit down and talk with me, dude, and reminisce a little bit about recent history and sort of the future, too. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
I guess I'd start out maybe going back a little bit. The first question I sort of had was where I started myself was with, making the Smash Brothers and your episode, which I entitled The Robot. Now, I think we've talked about this in the past, but I went back and forth on whether or not I should title it that because I wasn't sure how you felt about that name, but it was sort of like the nickname that you had. Did you feel like that nickname was, was there any truth to that sort of moniker as far as like how you played or, how you were as your personality? Why do you think that that was sort of a name attached to you back then?
Okay, so on that thing, I actually was called the robot back then, but I think a lot of it was because of like you have to think of like how did I get good? Okay, so I lived in the middle of nowhere in South Jersey. I didn't really have people to play until like for example, I didn't start playing with Cactuar on a regular basis until like the halfway point of 2006 and onwards. Roughly halfway through 2006 and onwards is when I started playing with him a lot. And like I got a lot better against Marth in like Marth vs. Fox, Marth Dittos and stuff, just from like we both got a lot better by playing against each other and stuff. But from like points in time before, I'd say the halfway point of 2006, most of my practice by far came alone against computers and stuff. Computers only do so many options. They don't even like do Fox's side B to recover. They don't tech. I can't practice. There's limitations to what I can practice by only fighting computers, particularly, level 1s, level 4s and stuff, right? So I got as good as I could based on the environment around me, based on what I had around me. I did the best a human could do in such an environment. So I was limited in the resources, but I tried really hard, and I have a smart, capable brain. But anyone in that environment is not going to realize, okay, overshooting. Like you have to, the Samus is going to wave dash back. At first, you keep hitting where the level 1 Samus is at, or whatever computer you're fighting. You aim at them a lot,
Exactly.
right? Because you're not used to them doing dash away, wave dash back, and stuff. Because you haven't been to the situation for your brain's reward and punishment system to kick in. And that's just learning process. Even if you might know it, it might not be your habits yet. But then experiencing it versus people, you're like, okay, and then this starts to make sense, and the gears turn, and you keep going up and up and up, and improving and learning from your experiences and stuff. So because I was able to practice good tech skill alone, because tech skill is what you can practice alone. That's one of the best things you can do to practice alone. So I practiced my tech skill a lot and just studied the game, just playing a while, learning the hitboxes, my movement of my character and stuff, everything except, fighting people who punish me for things. So my strengths and weaknesses had to align with what the environment helped me out for, which is, practicing tech skill and pretty much everything except fighting good human opponents, because I didn't have that at that time. So that's why my strengths and weaknesses at that time were a lot based on, the hundreds of thousands of hours I practiced alone. So in that sense, I had good tech skill, but I could be predictable because I didn't have experience, specifically that reason, and so hence the name, the robot.
Gotcha. Yeah, it makes, and you also kind of like it is kind of ironic in a way too, because you have mentioned this in the past that you definitely hated it when people were kind of cheering against you, and very like you're also an emotional player. You're not just like this robotic individual.
I also want to add on that. Yeah, the cheering against me. So I think this might be part of having Asperger's or not, but I didn't realize it back then at the time. And also, this is many years before noise canceling headphones. I'm talking like a good decade before I started using noise canceling headphones. Like a good 10 years before noise canceling headphones. I don't think I started that until like 2016 plus, maybe.
Yeah. Wow. So pretty recently.
That was like more than 10 years of turn-ins with no noise canceling headphones, where people knew that they could distract me. And let's say, anyone would get distracted, right? But I guess people like me, maybe I get distracted even more than usual. Compared to like your average person. If you would take the average person and me, I get more nerfed by it because I have difficulty with the multitasking, but I'm extra good when I can focus on a specific task. Also, motion issues and get distracted and stuff. In addition to that, since I was always traveling, I was always into, quote, enemy territory, and they didn't care. They just want their friends to win. So
Right,
when you
right.
combine all these things, it's like a combination of all those things together.
No, it makes sense. I mean, and it's funny. Well, you mentioned the fact that you're. I guess it would be the punish style, which you could really kind of practice. Right, was the punish game, but maybe it wasn't until you started getting that experience under your belt that you were able to kind of focus on or master neutral and sort of get a better sense of that.
Well, the best way to learn neutral is to fight another human trying their best to not get hit and hit you. But I mean, if you're practicing the combos, the tech skill, like, yeah, you can still practice like your drill, wave, shine, thunder's combo, up, throw, up air, yada, yada. I mean, you're limited to certain points because, like, okay, well, the computer is either going to not DI or do the same types of DI over and over. Limited to like level ones and level fours, particularly because level nines always smash DI up, which is bad practice. So I tell people one of the many reasons not to fight them because they do many unrealistic things, which is not useful practice. I found level ones and fours better just to beat up and not take too seriously. But they're not going to wave dash back when you approach. They're not going to dash dance. They're not going to mix up their DI and stuff. So you have limited tools of how good you can get. So a lot of people nowadays, they look back and they're like, oh, well, I would have destroyed these guys back then. I'm like, no, you wouldn't, because you would not have had the knowledge or resources to even know what you know or or any of that now, because that didn't exist back then. You can't just
Right.
be like, okay, well, that's like, okay, well, I'm smarter than Einstein. It's like, well, I mean, you're being handed the cheat sheet in class of like all the answers that were Einstein didn't know. Like, that doesn't make you smarter than him. Like, if you were in his time period, I
Yeah.
don't think you would have thrived quite as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people, they don't consider these things, and
Yeah.
I feel like you need to consider all the different types of viewpoints, like what's humanly capable at this particular point in time. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That
Absolutely.
every at the end of the day, everything is relative, and there's a reasons the quote level was so much lower, because it's like you don't have amazing controllers, consistent dashback videos, Twitch, YouTube, like all that stuff. Or if you did, it was like extremely like rare, nerfed, yada yada. YouTube didn't even come out to like 2005 plus, and it was tiny then. Like, yeah, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was only like the DC plus plus hub or whatever, like those old like
Yeah.
the videos and stuff back then. There was nothing back then, man. It was really like you guys were inventing it back then, like at MLG days and stuff.
Yes. I invented a lot of things. Like a lot.
There was I think actually when you were watching your review of the Smash Brothers documentary, there's a part where you were rewatching. I think it was MLG Chicago. I want to say it was you versus Azen, and you did this crazy combo. I don't even remember.
I remember it too. I actually messed up like when I was coming down for the lasers or something. Oh no, I think I messed up. Like, I was coming hitting with the lasers. I did the grab the wrong way because my controller got stuck in
That's
dashback.
right.
Did you know, actually, before the MLG final event, right before I was the MLG final event in late 2006, my controller broke and lost its dashback, so I couldn't up throw, up air, Marth, or like do anything because my
No,
controller wouldn't dash backwards.
no,
And
dude.
and this only happened because I practiced so much. But even if my skill increased, my only good controller decreased by more than my skill increased. That was the life before UCF. Like, like I literally felt like, man, I just got cheated. But the thing is, that was my first experience of a controller changing so drastically. Actually, the stuff Zane's doing now, not only is literally impossible to do. Like, he would be good, but he would not succeed to the same level back then. And it's not because of skill or anything. It's because you literally, in order to get good pivots, you have to lose dashback and vice versa.
Interesting.
It's actually not possible. Like, consistent dashback and like a good vanilla melee dashback controller also has worse pivots, and then vice versa. Zane relies significantly on both at once, so his style is only able to be done because of the resources of today, like UCF and stuff.
Wow.
And I don't think it's coincidence that as that stuff became standard, his play style benefited more. Like, in a universe where that was always the case, who knows? Maybe I would have made different decisions. Like, I probably would have invested less in Sheik and more on Fox and Marv, who benefited off consistent dashback. Because some of the reasons, like, a character like Sheik was a little more viable relative to the competitors, because everything is relative, is because the Fox, Falco, Marfin, etc. might miss their dashback sometimes. Like, you're never getting 100%, you might get 90%, and then the pivots is this all new beast. Like, that's just how the game is. It's never 100%. There's always that chance. So, and consistency matters and yada yada and all that.
Yeah, so
So
and you that's actually a good point you brought up. The fact that you did during this time, when you were really hitting your stride, and you were, great at, number one in the world at Brawl and Melee. Like you
yeah,
were like going into this era, like you were and I always remember you had the three, I guess, that were you were known for. It was the obviously number one, the Marth, but also Sheik and Fox. How did you feel? Do you feel like playing all those three kind of was made it more difficult for you? Do you was there if you could go back in time and sort of change that triumvirate, would you pick one or?
Um, it's hard to say because here's the thing: hindsight is 2020. That's like asking, okay, if you knew the lottery tickets, would you play them?
Right.
Like, yeah, if I already knew the answer. But for the time being, why would I logically come to that conclusion? I think a lot of my choices for the time and for what I knew and for what was expected made sense. So yeah, I could
Yeah.
go back, but the only reason I would say I would go back is because I know better now. I don't think I made like logical decisions based on information I was given at each point in time. Also, for Melee, I was playing for like hundreds, thousands of hours alone for the first like 3.5 years before my first tournament, for example. Like, because game count late, it's either late 2001 or 2002. I think it was late 2001 or something. And then,
I think that's right. Yeah.
yeah, and my first tourney was on Valentine's Day, early February 20. It was right after my 16th birthday, because my birthday is February 5th, 89. So it was right after I turned 16, like 9 days later, Valentine's Day of 2005. That's when my first tournament was. So it was like 3.5 years later, basically, like less than 3.5 years, but yeah. So I was already playing the game a lot, like just for fun. So I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
well, I just want to mess with all the characters because it's fun. Let's be as good as I can. I didn't want to be as good as I can for like. I didn't even know about tourneys until like 2004. So I wasn't even thinking in terms of that. I was doing statistics for this. I want to be famous at something. I want to enjoy my life. Like I figure, okay, we have so many years on Earth and so many years in heaven. I have all these philosophies. So it's like I want to spend my time doing what makes me happy. So and so I was already using a bunch of characters. When Brawl came out, I decided, you know what, all business. I'm gonna go in, try to be number one no matter what. I'm gonna focus it all based on tournaments.
Yeah.
So I didn't mess with all the. I decided this before the game came out, so I didn't mess with all the different characters.
Interesting.
Um, so I just focused. I was like Marth, and then DDD, and then Meta Knight, and then I was like, well, DDD is like holding me back. Marth and DDD, I felt like they were holding me back from like my true potential. And I felt like Meta Knight, there was a lot of micro situations to practice. Like I can always be like 1% better here, 1% better here, space the sword more here, do this frame trap better. There's always something to practice and something to improve. Very similar to Melee, how the game's super deep. It's always allows you to be slightly better in this scenario, slightly better in this scenario, slightly better in this scenario. And all these slightlys here, added up over time, it becomes like a beautiful end result, i.e., kind of like Melee. So Brawl Meta was very similar to Melee in that way, except I put 99% of my time to Brawl Meta. In fact,
Yeah.
Brawl Meta is my most played video game character of all time.
No
Back
shit.
to the Melee part and how this like adds in. So I used Fox a lot because I heard, oh, he's the best character, and I saw some Fox video like of Tetsuya and like these TAS videos called like Super Duper Man's Adventure and stuff. Like all these videos of both impressive humans and of tasks, and be like, okay, I want to be this Fox. This is so cool. I want to be that cool too. And Fox is, quote, the best at that time. So I was like, okay, well, let's invest in the best, because that way I can maximize my chances of being the best while having fun and being cool too. So everyone will think I'm cool. And just I had all these different types of like, teenage mentalities, and I don't really regret it because it was like really fun. And
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, well, I started to realize, wait, well, I'm doing a lot of dash hands grab. And I was like, okay, well, this is good for Marth, but it was also Marth I could practice a lot alone. Also, my controller broke, which means I couldn't reverse laser. And, it's funny because, like, control breaking also affects Marth a lot, almost as much
Yeah.
as Fox, you would think. But, like, I guess you would think Marth equals dash back, but I guess my Marth was affected slightly less than my Fox for some reason, because my Fox also did like reverse lasers in addition to up throw, dash back, up air, and stuff. So I guess they're both affected a lot. And then the Sheik came, like the Sheik and Marth have been a work in progress even while I was maining Fox, but I guess the Fox came first in explosive tourneys, and then like the Sheik showed up in doubles in 06 and onwards, but I mainly used Fox. And then the Marth came in like late 06. Funny story, I actually played Asin and won Marth Ditto and Ken in a crew battle. The only match I played Ken, it was like East versus West crew battle in late 2006, that MLG. Yeah, I wish it was put on YouTube, but it wasn't. I don't know why the MLG never uploaded. But I 3-stocked him that game. We both had 4 stocks, and I ended up 3-stocking him.
Damn.
And then I played Asin in one friendly. Marth Ditto. One Marth Ditto friendly just before Asin fought Ken. And Asin fought Ken, and Asin versus Ken, I think that was like it was Ken either won 3-1 or 3-2 that tourney. But the one game I played against Asin, I 4-stocked him in a Marth Ditto.
Damn.
And I was like, wait a minute, I just 4-stocked Asin, and then Asin went to fight Ken, and it was very competitive. And I just 3-stocked Ken in the Marth Ditto, and I 4-stocked Asin. I should probably start using Marth from this point. But, I was already invested in Fox. I was scared to switch off Fox because, I wasn't comfortable yet, and I was a stupid child. And then after that, I was like, I'm just going in on Marth after that. And then the next, but then there was no MLG the next year. So
That's
it's
right.
like, well, but and then the Sheik came in because I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna focus on Brawl. Brawl is gonna be bigger than Melee after like 2008 plus. So I was like, okay, knowing this, I'm just gonna focus on like consistency. I want my lifestyle is go tourney to tourney. This is how big Melee will be. It'll never be bigger than this. Brawl has the more growth potential because it's newer. I want to be best at the new game. So I focused on the new game, but I also wanted a consistent character because my Fox playing bad, that's Fox playing bad, he dies. But if I'm playing bad of Sheik, I'm still beating 99.9% of people.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
Sheik's, minimum is better than Fox's minimum. Like Fox has a higher peak. Fox has a wider range. He can be better at or be worse. But I cared more about like the consistency. Also, I just like playing a bunch of different characters too. So
Yeah.
and then why would I drop Marth? I was already so good at Marth. So it was like I was already doing a lot of this for fun anyway. Like I was even in friendlies, I'll be using like Cat and Falcon stuff. I'll be using tons of characters just for fun. That's the thing people don't know because people only know what's on YouTube and Twitch. But there was way, way, way more before that. In fact, most of my life is like way before that. So
yeah, I remember
there's like all these variables. Yeah,
you were such a dominant force too, going into like when you first started playing Mango and stuff. I guess after Rom, you did beat him after I guess was it Pound 3. You beat him.
Okay. So actually, there's this actually story that leads into that. So
Yeah.
you know how Mango beat me to best of one at Evo? Well,
That's right.
that sucked. And then I got emo and depressed, and then I lost to Chillin' Dude, Sheik, and losers.
That's
I was
right.
like, when Mew2King, younger Mew2King's depressed, he's so bad. Like it's like it happens to other people. It happened extra to young Mew2King because I had extremely bad control of negative emotions and I let it affect me way too much.
Yeah.
I actually rematched them 1 month later at a tourney, the last tourney of the year, Super Champ combo, and it was 1 month later.
That's right.
I think it was called Super Champ combo. It was like the end of August, I think, end of August or September. I think it was end of August 2007. I actually rematched both Chillin' Dude and I fought PC Chris, and I fought Mango, and I 2-0'd and almost 4-stocked Chillin', and I 3-1 Mango. The game I lost his last hit, and I 3-stocked him 2 times. Once with Fox, it was green so that doesn't really count. But then also with Marth on Pokemon, and then I beat PC and I beat Court, and I beat a bunch of other people. And I was just doing insane. And you know what happened the day after that?
What?
After I came home, I was with Cactor and like the subway, like Philly. We were just going to his place or something. We got off like the PHL airport, right? And we were going like the subway. I lost my bag with my 2 best controllers, all my prize money, and my clothes. Not just my best controller. I brought my best and a backup just in case my best broke at attorney, because by then I had already realized to do that. But since I lost my bag, because right after the subway doors closed, my bag was right there. So I lost my best and my second best controller.
That sucks.
I did not have a good third. So, I was about to retire Melee from that moment.
Really? You were thinking about it? Like at that point?
Yeah, because every control I had couldn't dash back, or I couldn't dash back. Or if I could dash back, I couldn't ledge dash, or all my other movements sucked. Like it was mostly the dash back, but it was like a combination of that combined for a bunch of other stuff. And back then it was really hard to get. So I got mega nerfed from like then until like the next few tourneys. And even then, like by the time Pound 3, don't get me wrong, by the time Pound 3 came, I didn't have like a bad controller. It was still like a decent controller, but it wasn't the same level as those two.
Right.
And it was even more difficult in the months leading up to that because I was just hella discouraged. But around that same time, I don't remember if it was before or after, but Brawl was also announced. I think Brawl was actually announced I think Brawl was announced even before then. And I was already head focused on like, hey, I want to be amazing at Brawl. So like I was already planning to like move on, but since a lot of the tourneys I traveled to had both Melee and Brawl, I didn't want to drop the game, but I felt like it wouldn't be my focus anymore. And for the next 5 years, Brawl was my focus and Melee was like more of a backseat to Brawl during the first 5 years, sometimes even, but never like more than it depended on the tourney. But most tourneys had Brawl bigger because it was like the newer game,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally.
Back then, that was actually a huge nerf for me for quite a while, and I don't think it actually affected Pound too much. I think that was more just like me. Like one of the matches I lost to Mango, I actually side beat off the stage trying to laser.
That's
And if I had
right.
won that game, if I didn't lose that stock to side being off, I probably would have like done better to tourney. But yeah, after I didn't really care that much because like Mango beat me whatever. But then every other tourney that entire year, I didn't lose a set to anybody, and I was just super dominant. So I was still like even me and Mango both agreed that I was still the best player in 2008 because if you took that outlier and you just looked at everything else for the next 10 months after that, or the data points before that, it was like consistently. That's like being like, okay, well, what if you win one tourney and then retire forever? But no, but by the time the year later came, um, Mango was still playing this. So by like 1 year later, by like early '09, he had gotten better, and I'd gotten probably better and worse. And when my book comes out, I'm gonna go in more detail on like all the
Yeah.
stuff,
Well, that's
but
great.
like,
Yeah,
I mean, the book's gonna be hella delayed, but it's still 100% happening. But it's gonna be hella delayed. But that's something to look forward to if you want to know more of
yeah,
the history. But what I'm
absolutely,
saying
man.
is things are more complex than it may seem on the surface a lot of the time.
Totally, totally. Well, actually, the next question I had sort of revolves around when Melee sort of started. Melee went into that sort of down period of time when Brawl came out, and you were focusing a lot on that. And one of the reasons that it came back in such a big way was thanks to Evo 2013, which I covered briefly in both documentaries, but doesn't really go into a lot about how that came about, the things that kind of led up to that happening. And we've been talking a lot recently about sort of your involvement in that. I remember you at the time posting nonstop about like we got to get into Evo 2013. We got
Yeah.
this is such a huge thing. So talk a little bit about like your sort of behind the scenes work with getting that to happen.
All right. So to start off, Brawl was my main focus for the first, I'd say, specifically the first 4 years and like 10 or 11 months. Right when it came out, early 2008, like February or March 2008 or whatever it came out, and then that was like the Evo Drive came out in like late January. I think it was like late January or something, 2015 or something, or 2013. So that was just under 5 years where Brawl was like my number one and Melee was like my number two. And then I saw this and I was like, if I can make this happen, I'm flipping it. So
Nice.
that's what I ended up That's what I ended up deciding to do. Because like right before then, I went to Japan for Brawl. I was super focused on Brawl. I was like, Salem beat me in the grand finals, but I was like so good at everything else that like I was at that time. I was like, okay, I did it. Even though I didn't get second, when you combine that second with all my other stuff, it's like, yes, I did it.
Dude,
I
that
accomplished what I wanted in Brawl.
yeah. That,
You know,
yeah.
I almost went into like dude being super top at that game, to like top at Melee, top 1 to 5 at Melee, top 1 to 2 at Brawl at the same time. It didn't pay the bills. I almost was considering going to the army actually,
Wow,
because
really?
not because I wanted to, but because I felt like I need the money. Because there was no esports. I had to pay out of pocket for everywhere. Like seeing like just everything. Like it was mainly for pride. You
Yeah.
do it because you want to be better than everyone, show that you're the greatest. That's why I did it.
Well,
But so yeah, to actually lead into that, so then I was thinking about quitting actually, or just switching my focus to like, okay, well, I'm not really liking what I'm doing in college. I might have to actually do the army or army plus something else or minimum wage job and all this stuff to like, I don't want to do it, but I felt like I had no choice. I was kind of depressed. And then around some point, I think it was at some point in January 2013, oh, they're having this contest for the Evo donation drive. And it'll whoever wins gets the last spot at Evo. It's like 7 games or something. And there's like another slot for like whoever gets the last game. And it was like a close fight. But like, well, the moment I found out about this, I spent the vast majority of all my free time for pretty much all of January into just doing it. It's like the vast majority. I'd spent more time on that than practicing, studying, like any leisurely activity. Literally all of my free time, even college work, all of my free time was just like every day promote, message like 1,000 people, post in a million groups, think of strategies, donating $200 myself when I was almost broke, begging tons of people around. And there's a guy named Nova who actually donated $10,000 on 2 occasions.
damn.
Well, it was like 10,000, and then it was either first time he did 10K, and then again for like 10.7 or 10.8K. So it was like 20.7 or 20.8K in total. We beat Skullgirls at the end by 17K, and he was like a secret weapon. So like he did this all in like it was all one of them he did in like the last few minutes. And
Jesus.
the other one I think was like something else. Like if just from me contacting and begging him alone, That alone was the difference. But then, you add all the other stuff I did, the Facebook groups, every individual message, all like Smash Sports, like that. I just posted it everywhere because I was doing. Okay, I have to make this happen no matter what, because if so, I can save Melee at least for the year 2013.
Well,
So
and you did actually sort of commemorate this secret sniper with a tag you
yes,
used to wear. I remember seeing it and wondering what the story was behind Nova,
yeah,
your
that's the
Nova
Nova
tag.
tag. Yeah, because like of course, like in honor of helping save the game. I mean, it was like a combination effort. Like first I had to message him, and then I had to beg him, and then he had to agree, and then he had to do it. Like, it's like all that. So, but yeah,
This year, I believe it was that same year, a tournament that Metagame covers a lot of tournaments, but there aren't it wasn't enough to like kind of cover every single one. And one of them that doesn't get covered, it was an amazing tournament called the Big House 3 that was really important in a lot of different ways. One way was the first episode of the Smash Brothers documentary premiered that night, but the other way,
oh
the
yeah,
other
and Mewtwo came out on Project M that same night as well. Or it was either the same night or within the like a span of 3 days. I think it was the same night or so. Like all three of those things, the Big House and the Smash Doc and the Mewtwo PM, like all three big things happened at like basically the exact same time.
it was a momentous day for Smash history for sure. But that particular tournament, you actually overcame some huge hurdles that you'd been dealing with. You beat both PPMD and Hungrybox. So I'd love to kind of get because this tournament I remember watching, and I remember people going crazy about it too, because it was sort of like, oh, the return of the king. This particular rush of like, oh, Mew2King is back, and that
Yeah, I have a
became
lot to say on this actually.
yeah, for sure.
So it actually leads into the other thing about the Evo donation drive. So that gave me a resurgence of like, okay, instead of Brawl number 1, Melee number 2, I swapped the order. And I already felt like I accomplished what I wanted with like I proved I was the best in the world. Like getting because like Salem beat me at the tourney, right? But then if you look at any of her data points, it's obvious I was still better than Salem. So it was widely recognized that I was still that was the best player. When you look at all the data points, like pretty much everyone agreed. So in my mind, I had like a check mark there as that being like goal complete.
Right.
So I felt satisfied, and then time to move on, do more goals in life. Have a good life and stuff. Different goals in life, different priorities.
Yeah.
But then that coincidentally, like right after that Apex, that's when the Evo donation thing happened. It was like right afterwards, basically. So I was like, okay. And then when we succeeded, at like January 31st into February 1st, because I think that's around when it ended. I was like, okay, man, I should just focus on the game. And then I was building up my skill set again, and like by around the second half of 2013, like I continuously got better controllers, got better practice, yada yada. So I was in a even stronger version of myself by the second half, especially the last quarter, last 25 to 50% of 2013. I got my skills up and controllers up and all that stuff. So then I was like, okay, man, I'm just gonna do this. So I was still doing Melee Brawl and Project M, which is now called Project Plus, basically. During that time period, but it was like a work in progress over and over. And then it was like, okay, well, I didn't do as good as I wanted at Evo. 2 out of 3s actually nerfed me because I didn't have because I had too many characters to warm up and stuff. Actually, that's a huge thing. Having to warm up Marth and Sheik and Fox is difficult, and that was one of the reasons Hungrybox was so hard for me.
Yeah.
Because I was in Melee, I was using Marth and Sheik and Fox, and those tourneys usually had Brawl 2, sometimes 64 and PM, but mostly Melee Brawl combination. So that was Brawl Midnight, and then 3 Melee mains. That's 4 characters. And I'm not using Fox the whole tourney except when I'm fighting H-Box.
Right.
So I usually had to fight H-Box as a nerfed version of myself. So Big House, I was like, okay, I had enough. I think I'm better than H-Box, or at least I believe I can destroy him. I just I fought him at Evo, and I was like, why did I get 3 stock? I don't think he's just better in by skill. So for the first time, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna quote cheat. I'm gonna study videos. My mindset to that point in Melee and Brawl was just be as good as I can overall. I considered it. I had this bad mentality where I had considered it cheating to study people because I didn't want. Because I wanted to make sure I was beating them because I'm better, not just because I counter their strats. And PPMD actually did that a lot to me, where like I'll be destroying everybody up till him, and then he'll destroy me. And like his best set of the tourney would actually be like against me. Like he might 4-stock me, but then like he wouldn't 4-stock anyone else, but he'll 4-stock me. But then I'm 4-stocking everyone else up to him, and it's like, well, what the heck? I mean, maybe that's an exaggeration, but and I was like, wait, the power of studying is broken. So I'm just gonna. So when I was like, and I fight H-Box all the time. H-Box used to travel, so I was like, I'm just gonna study him. But then it's not just study him. I'm also going to practice Fox every day for like 5 days. No, well, I'm just going to practice Fox enough to the point that like I can get to my best version of Fox, and then I'll use practice controllers. And then just before the event, I'll also use my best controllers. And then I also played Prince of Boo with the tourney. So that's the difference between like getting 3-stock the prior tourney or and stuff. So I was like, as long as I play my best and realize what he's punishing me with, instead of his style countering mine and me falling into all his traps, I'm just gonna make it so like I'm good enough and studied enough that I won't fall for all his traps. And back then I had more motivation because that was like a big part of the income was like this. Obviously now he's doing streaming and stuff. So 2020 8 honestly, beating him doesn't even count. If you beat 2019 8 or earlier, it counts. But if you beat 2020 8, if I'm being honest, it doesn't really count because he's a super nerfed version of himself because ultimately he doesn't care because that's not where his income is. But that wasn't how it was most of the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to beat the best version of them. And then I beat him 6-1 with a 6-1 score. And before that, I also had to I was fighting SFAT. I didn't play good at all in game 1 of Marth, but then every other game I played fine. I was pretty much destroyed him the rest of the set of Marth and Fox those because I like the Fox doing. In fact, I thought Marth lost to Fox, so I actually Fox those people. That's why I Fox those SFAT and Leffen because I believe Marth loses to Fox, not the other way around.
No way.
So I Fox those people at least on like Stadium and stuff because it's like okay. I don't want to play a losing matchup, which is Marth losing to Fox. So I actually just Fox did a Leffen and SFAT for years just because with my like not warmed up Fox because I wanted to win the winning matchup for me. And it's funny because now it's people are saying the opposite and stuff. It's like, but that's literally what I was doing, and it was working over and over and over against all the Foxes. I don't remember if I studied PPMD or not. Honestly, I honestly don't remember. I think I was I think I was just playing the game a lot back then. I know I studied HBox. I don't think I was really studying anyone else. Or if I did, it was like a tiny fraction of the amount. Like I might have done it. I don't remember. But if I did, it wasn't to the same fraction as I did with HBox. So I was tired of HBox beating it. I'm like, I feel like I felt like I was better than everyone's skill as at the game. Yeah. I felt like I was just my strategies lost to their strategies. And then I'd be proven right.
How did that feel for you in the moment? I know you looked incredibly excited the fact you did beat.
Oh yeah,
PP
because
and
I was an excited kid. You have the dreams, like a lot of people say I have like the anime protagonist life, and I kind of believe it. So like, I was kind of like the anime protagonist life, and I was like obviously super happy because I wanted to show. I wanted to prove to people I know in my mind I can do this. I just haven't done it yet when it mattered.
Right.
All I need to do is do it when it matters. But Armada also thought that I was actually the best in the last few months. I was the best player in the world during the last few months of 2013.
Yeah.
Not for like 2013 is like a whole, but that's highly debatable. I'm anywhere between first to third alongside Mango and Armada. But if you're talking the last few months of the year, kind of like how Leffen 2015 during like early first half of 2015 or early summer, like you say he's the best in that time period. Maybe not for the year, but for these few months, he was the best in the world. Kind of similar. I was the best in the world in the last few months of 2013 based on results, accomplishments, people's opinions, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that I was actually 5-1 with Mango that year.
Damn.
And I was 0-1 versus Armada, but he quit, and I was better versus other people. And now I beat PPMD last set, and then I just kept beating Xbox over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I remember that is definitely the Return of the King era, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I think that was some of my strongest. I think that was some of my strongest time periods as a competitor. I was a strong contender. I was in a strong discussion for number 1 at 3 games at once.
Yeah. And
even though it's like all is debatable for all 3, if you actually like looked at the people I was beating at like PPMD, like Mango, Hungrybox, Zero, Nairo, Salem, and all the top people in Project M and stuff, it was actually looking like that. And I actually think I was. Now that also leads into Apex 2014 and Paragon. Because I was debatable number 1 times 3, I didn't know what event to enter and not enter at Apex 2014. So because I felt that I was equal at all 3,
right,
I just entered all 3. But you know what that means? That means running around all day for your next matches, waiting in line, barely getting to play any of the games, barely getting a warm-up in each game. But I still ended up getting second, and fourth. In a universe, like what if in that universe I had only committed to PM or only committed to Melee or only committed to Rob? That's just speculation. But I need to explain that like I had a very unique situation that no one else was in. Nobody was even doing this for 2 games. I was doing it for 3. And I was like, okay, well, I have to explain that the situation is real unique because it's like you have to think, okay, well, theoretically, what would have happened if I was at 100% power in one individual game with no warmth in that game, and you just played 10% better here? Well, that's the difference between winning or losing matches and sets. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
but
totally.
As I said, I didn't even know what game I was better at because I was a contender for number one at 3 of them. Actually, I only lost the first. I got 5th, but I lost the first and second. I won doubles in Smash 4. I think I either got first or second melee doubles of Fates Box, and then I won doubles without losing a set in Smash 4. And then I got 5th in singles, but I got 5th by losing the first and second. And I was 1 hit away from beating second in the set. I was the Buzz's Rosalina. I 2-stocked him. I think I beat him really badly the first 2 games, and then he won 3 close games.
Now,
I was like, oh damn, but yeah.
It's funny you brought this up. I actually I want to go back and talk a little bit about Leffen, but because you did bring this up, you brought this up, and there's a little segment that I recorded that's a little extra on my Patreon where you're telling Armada about how you were going after ducks on stage while you were playing to Buzz. Like you were up against him, I think it was 2-0, right? And then you started going after ducks just because the crowd was like, laughing at it.
Oh my god, dude!
Do you remember that?
Now. Okay, so dude, I think I threw the set. So I was fighting the Buzz, right? If you look at my set against the Buzz, it was like Diddy versus Rosalina, and I 2-stocked him, and I 2-stocked him again. And since I I don't remember if I double 2-stocked him, but I beat him really badly twice in a row, and I beat him so badly, so like for 2 games, and then I was winning again. So I started the entertainment goofball Mew2King came out. It wasn't even about being cocky. It was more about trying to be an entertainer and just having fun. But all that time I spent doing like taunting or hitting ducks and stuff, that might have changed the because the game ended up being last hit. If all those little situations were in that, I might have won the last hit game instead of lost. If I didn't do those things, the universe might have been, I just 3-0'd him instead of losing. Like when it's a last hit game, you want to be the one that got the last hit. Those interactions might have been the difference.
It might have been the difference.
It might have, and then that would have been me and Grands or top 3 or whatever, Like very high chance. I'm not saying definitely, but very high chance,
Really hilarious, actually. I was filming you too when you were talking about it with Armada, and then you turned to me and saw that I was filming, and you're like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah. I actually, dude, I wish I remember. I didn't remember the ducks till you mentioned it. I remember I was sandbagging on game 3, but it wasn't like maliciously. It was more like I'm a stupid, dumb goofball. And then I was like, man, now that in hindsight, I regret that because it was last hit.
I know, but you had a lot of fun.
And then I lost 2 more and then I lost 2 more close games. I'm like, dang it, man, I could have just closed it out. It's like Frieza could just close it out against Goku before he went Super Saiyan.
Exactly. What did you think of Leffen when he first came out? It was one of the most exciting storylines in retrospect, having this guy who was really brash and being like, I'm gonna slay all the gods and stuff. What did you think about Leffen?
Honestly, I guess I didn't think as much into it as everyone else, because you could just say what if PPMD or any other of the 5 gods or whatever, what if they were just cocky? Do they get more attention because they're just being cocky about it? Or what if they did that while being silent? You know what I'm saying? I guess for storyline purposes it is, but I just see it as okay, another player roughly more or less equal to us.
Right.
Give or take a little bit.
Did you, once all the other guys had been defeated and you were the last god standing, did you feel sort of any pressure to be like, okay, every time, because you fought, and this brings us to Paragon here, Paragon Orlando, where you were the last one standing, and, you were up against him, I think it was losers semis? Or maybe losers finals?
Well, I actually beat him at Paragon Orlando. It was 3-1 or 3-0.
Right. But going into that, did you feel pressure to beat him because you were the last one who hadn't?
Nah, I didn't really. I just want to whoop him because he was being mean on the internet. I'm more simple. I actually didn't care about that. If I did, it was insignificant. I knew when we play a lot of times, if 2 good players fight a lot, and they're close in skill overall, player A is not always going to beat B, and B is not always going to beat A.
Right.
Player B might have studied player A more and prepared for them specifically, or their controller is better, or or they're playing better on that day, or whatever. There could be a million variables, but it's not always I'm always the same. I'm always the same. We're human beings with different circumstances, controllers, studying, yada, motivations, yada, yada. It's more complex than people try to say on the surface. So I knew I had 2 good players fight. You're not always going to win, or not always going to lose. I just thought I was okay, well, eventually I'll lose. Whatever. But he was mean to me on the internet. He was mean to me on the internet, so I wanted to whoop him. If he was nice to me, I wouldn't have cared as much. Armada was nice to me, so I never I didn't study Armada until I was man, I need to way later, when I was okay, I did study him a bit, but I didn't really go in.
Yeah.
But, I guess I didn't do it for him either. I was more my I just played Foxes all day. I actually wasn't studying Leffen back then, or if I did, it was so insignificant. It's basically almost amounts to zero.
Yeah.
But because mainly I was just getting good at practice against Fox, because when you go to a tournament, especially back then, everyone's using Fox. So I'm playing versus Fox all day. I'm able to like, I have this idea in this specific scenario. I wonder how often it's going to work versus this guy, versus this guy, versus this guy. So if you keep doing the same matchup all day against a wide variety of different people, you're going to get good at that matchup.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, like for example, like Jigglypuff, it was harder to get practice for H-Box. And when you did, there were puffs that like played so opposite, worse and opposite to him, that it almost like it reinforces bad habits. But when you're fighting Fox all day, at least my opponent's game's gonna be consistent. I've labbed all these scenarios already, so even if I'm not at my best, I'm still good at the matchup. You know what I'm saying? But I guess I didn't really feel that much pressure. It's more I just he's mean on the internet, so I'm gonna try harder. I'm gonna make sure to beat him up.
Yeah. Good.
But it's funny because if he was nicer to me then, I probably would have been like, back then he was meaner. He's fine. We're cool now, by the way. But back then he was meaner, so I was like, okay, well, I want to beat him up. I was like motivated to try harder because I wanted to beat him up. None of my sets were that close that day. Actually at Paragon Orlando, since you brought that up, I did win that in Smash 4 and Project M.
Yeah.
I actually fought Hungrybox in Project. I said I fought Left in Smash 4. I also fought Hungrybox in Project M that same day.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I beat H-Box in PM and beat everyone else. So actually, I think I won PM and Smash 4 without losing a set.
It's crazy.
And if I didn't lose to H-Box twice, I could have won the whole. If I didn't lose to H-Box twice in Melee, obviously, like, well, lol, and that's easier said than done. But if I didn't lose to H-Box twice in Melee, I could have won that major in all 3 games without losing a set.
That's crazy.
That universe was like 2 sets away from happening.
Yeah, yeah.
2 H-Box Melee sets away from happening.
If I remember correctly, too, that was the tournament where they started doing the hoo-ha. Remember that? There was
Oh yeah. I heard about that. I heard about that.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah, Xbox didn't like that.
he did not like that.
He didn't like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great tournament for a lot of reasons. I really felt like it kind of set everything up for Apex 2015, which I believe was the very next tournament. It was just 2 weeks after that.
It's 2 weeks after. Yeah.
So, did you feel? And I know you mentioned earlier that you have this continuous cough now for the last 10 years.
I was actually sick during that tournament. However, there was a rumor that for some reason I don't know why. For some reason, like I was very sick. I was coughing a lot that tourney. However, I was not coughing blood. People posted that on the internet. That's just not true. I'm just saying that right now, clearing that up. That part is not true.
You're good.
I don't know who started that. I didn't say it. I just said I was sick, and I was literally coughing the whole time. And I did very bad at Melee. I lost to Shroomed and Leffen. I feel like I wasn't like horrible, but I wasn't in my peak form.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know the reason. For whatever reason, I just wasn't in my best form.
At least as far as like dividing eras, like people call it, like the God era or whatever. The name I've seen thrown around for the one that came afterwards was various ones, but Chaos era was the one that I've seen a lot.
I've actually never heard of that before.
Yeah, really?
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of Chaos era, dude.
Well, maybe that's not the right term then, but basically pointing to the fact that there are like a lot more new players coming out that can like win big tournaments. Wizzy, Plup, Zane, guys like that. Out of that crop, who do you think? Who do you see like yourself in the most in the new crop, and also maybe who do you think has shown you the most about what can be done in Melee?
All right, so now there's a lot to talk about on each of them because I have a lot to say about each of them because they're very different.
Yeah.
I've always viewed me and Plup as like equal as players, like as Melee players. I've always viewed us as like equal. Like he's very talented. He's just Anyway, so to go in, I'll start with Wizzy. Wizzy has really unfair genetics with reaction time, where no matter how hard I practice reaction tech chase, I could never do it the way he does it. And tons of people have tried the same thing. And I even ask him about it. He's like, I don't know, just don't think too much. I'm like, okay, so you're just talent. It's literally like you're just born with the very unfair reaction time genetics, which allow you to do things other people can't. With that said, he's still very smart and hardworking. Like he's very good at a bunch of Smash games. So not to discredit him, like I'm just saying that like that in addition to the other things, it gives you extra good because I would love to just down through people and just auto win, like like on my best days or just get it more consistently, or imagine doing that with Marvin Sheik consistently all the time, without having to guess or whatever. But so that's one thing about him. On the flip side, Falcon obviously that's a nerf too because like Falcon's like probably like I'd say like right after around number 6 in the game, like right after Sheik. I don't know. I think Sheik's better than Falcon, but I think Falcon's probably better than Peach besides Armada. And then like wobbling ices I've broken too. But he's around that level, Sheik below Sheik / below Sheik level. So that like that's a nerf too. So it's like the reaction time talent, but there's also the Cat and Falcon nerf. Actually, interestingly, I actually helped. You said winning majors. The
Yeah.
major he won actually, almost all the times he beat Hbox from like 2017 plus, I'd say, was because I or 2016 or 17 plus. When I moved to Florida around then or so, I started coaching him or
Oh,
coaching him for free. I was actually helping him out for free,
no shit.
just because he came over and I was friends with him, so I was like, I'm just gonna help him out because we're training together. I know I can help him reach his dream because that's what I did back then. I used to just help people all the time before I
Yeah.
decided to make it a job.
Well, that
So
yeah. Actually, I didn't want to derail because I do want to hear your discussions about those guys too. But maybe we could take a good time because you did mention it. You are getting more into coaching, and actually, you introduced me to a site that I had not heard of before. How do you use it? Metafy or Metafy?
it's Metafy, like meta, like metagame, but like
Like
like metagame,
metagame.
but Metafy. It's
Metafy.
Metafy. It's metafy.gg, and it's
metafy.gg.
basically the website that I'm using for coaching. And more in the future. I can't say too much yet, but there's gonna be even more than coaching in the future. Coaching and lessons and stuff. And this is actually something I've been doing a lot in the past few months.
Nice.
So Plup, I used to. We used to just do Sheik. Well, I remember the first time playing him, he was Samus, and I beat him because Samus sucks. He's good, but Samus sucks. No, or Samus sucks against Sheik. Like
Yeah.
if we're both
Yeah.
playing good, I have to be playing like garbage to lose to Samus because I think that match. I believe that matchup's bad. And last time I lost to Samus was 2005 or six,
Whoa.
when I wasn't as good yet. But and like I said, but with that said, then he made the smarter choice, went to Sheik, and then went to like Sheik Fox or singles doubles. He obviously shown he's a great player. He's not a gimmick. He's just amazing. Honestly, he's like one of my favorite people, like as a person and as a friend and as like a player.
Yeah.
So but I think he has like immense like talent, skill, yada yada. Maybe in recent times he might have had like motivation issues, like maybe like this past year. But in terms of like what he can do when he's at his best, is very high. And I always view this as like in recent years, I view this as like roughly equals, more or less. Like maybe like I'm better at these things, he's better at these things, but we're roughly like same tier
Yeah. Yeah.
of like among the top of the top. But yeah, that's what I think about him for the most part. Very, very good overall. And Zane, obviously, as I said, what's it called? He's basically in the past 2 years been like the one trying the hardest. I want to say it's a fortunate time period for him. Like he did the hard work, but he also had other things which are out of his control that happen to be in his favor. I.e., online melee, and then the Slippy, and then for the online melee, which I would have loved to have most of my career, probably way better by at this point if I had constant human practice. I would have experimented every idea, and I would probably be like mega because the way I approach the game to like get better here or there, I would be mega broke at this game if Slippy was a thing back then. Because
Yeah.
the way my brain works and learning by steps until you fully master, cover every option type of thing. But that's not the reality. His hard work is undeniable. He works harder than anybody since me and Armada's stopped. Like overall, if you were to take like who I think the hardest working player is since like Ultimate's release, for example, I would say Zane. And so there's no denying that. I just wanted to add that there's more to the equation than only that variable. So the combination of his hard work, intelligence, and having also all the resources and the controller mods, which happen to benefit his style, all these in combination worked out for him in this universe.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
trying
Totally.
to say? Like it's a lot of people don't think of things in terms of like, oh, you're saying this, you have to be this or this. I'm like, no, there's usually like maybe 5 variables here instead of just extreme A and extreme B. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
a lot of people don't think like that, but my brain works like that anyway because I realize that a lot of things are a lot more than just black and white, and there's more variables to be considered. Yeah, I just want to mention that. So that's pretty much like my assessment on Wizzy, Plup, and Zane. They're all extremely good, but there's more to the story. Oh, the whole thing of COVID, and it's like it made it so like a lot of it changed a lot of people's motivations of things.
Totally.
Some for better, some for worse. For me, I'm just doing the FPS Online tourney series, for example, and then I'm also doing like more in the streaming because you got more time, and like it changed a lot of things. For some people better, for some people worse, for some people just different. In me, it would be in the case of different.
What is the FPS Tourney online series again? It's the this is
FPS Online is a tourney I do like once every month or two, but realistically, it's about once every 2 months.
Right.
I ambitiously was like saying like once every month, but if you're taking the average, it's like once every 2 months or so.
Thinking about like where we are right now as a community, dealing with all this stuff, where you are, looking back, is there stuff that you, looking back at like the golden era, like the MLG stuff, that where you kind of missed that old age? Like, has the community lost something?
Yeah, but because it was fun to be the ambitious kid on a journey who has yet to reach his dream,
Right.
out to prove yourself for the first time.
Right.
Because I remember when I was like, okay, so I'm some nobody, right? Just some average kid, aka nobody or whatever, depending on how you look at it. I want to be. I was like, at first, I'll be a stat master, all the frames and stuff, and okay, I just want to be known for something. So I wanted to make the best list ever. And then I was like, wait, let's also do tourneys. Let's be the best player ever. So I was a stat master, and I was the best melee player, and I became the best brawl player. I was like, and then Project M, and then the best all time, yada yada. Like I just golf to golf to golf, and it's like fun anime adventure.
Right.
Fun anime adventure. Let's reach all these goals. This is the journey. It's like you're playing a game. Like I'm playing Xenoblade right now, and you're on this fun anime adventure, save the world or whatever. And not quite as noble as save the world, but it's pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've kind of reached the end of my questions. Did you have any other thoughts or parting ideas or things you haven't talked about? Yeah.
Metafy.gg. If you want to get good at Smash, sign up for the coaching. If you're a fan of mine and you want to get good at Smash, great combination because you're helping me and helping yourself a lot. No, but actually, with jokes aside, like that is like some of the stuff I'm doing. Like there is a lot of other stuff. The book actually is delayed, but it is still 100% happening. I'm working on my YouTube, work on my Twitch and stuff. I am working on all these things. So supporting that would be appreciated. That wasn't
Nice.
the original intent of all this, but I mean,
Support this man.
I'm gonna answer the question if it's asked to me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate you, man, and thanks for talking. I know you are an encyclopedia of knowledge on this stuff, and so you really should get as much support as possible on this. And I hope that you are able to make it out to a tournament soon, as soon as they're back on, and we can hang out and you can beat the crap out of my fox.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I will see you later.
Yep. See you later.